of Plateau State House of Assembly returned to the Court of Appeal, wanted to set aside its earlier judgments nullifying their elections. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Wigu, will be joining us to provide insights on this issue. And later on the show, CBN governor tells Nigerians to reduce appetite for foreign goods. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Adewale Adeoye, who will be joining us later on. Journalist Hangout starts now. Welcome back to Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Before we move on, let me introduce TVC sports correspondent Meye Akiret, who will be joining us for the sports segment. Let's begin. Today we'll begin on a sad note by paying tribute to the late Chief Executive Officer of Access Holdings PLC, Herbert Wigu, who died in a helicopter crash on Saturday in the United States. President Bola Tinubu, who joined numerous Nigerians to mourn the top banker, described his death as an overwhelming tragedy that is shocking beyond comprehension. He died in the crash alongside former group chairman of the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC, Abimbola Ogunbanjo, and members of the Wigu family. May their souls rest well. Gentlemen, this is a huge loss to the country, to the banking industry, especially investment banking, and every staff of Access Bank.
It's terrible. If you knew Herbert closely, his death will trouble you tremendously, because such a humble and very nice person. His death has thrown the Access Bank family into deep grief. My younger sister is Executive Director, Corporate and Investment Banking, Access Bank. Yesterday, we could not console her. And she kept saying, why should good people always die? Wigu and his friend IGP turned a bank that was seen by many as a laggard, a conservative bank, to the biggest bank in Nigeria today. When I say Access Bank is the biggest bank in Nigeria today, I know what I'm talking about. By subscriber base, it is the biggest in our country after the acquisition of Diamond Bank. By the number of ATM galleries, it is the biggest in Nigeria. So, and by number of branches, branch network, it is the biggest in Nigeria. So, young men who transformed a little bank to the biggest in our country with branches beyond the shores of our country, UK, Gambia, and so many other countries. Such people should be venerated, because it's not easy to achieve such a feat. And before he even clocked 10 years as MD of the bank, he stepped out to move to Access a holding company. And it's just a terrible thing that we've lost Herbert at a time when the services are still very much needed. He's a skillful banker, and I don't know what next to say.
Ian, I mean, this man contributed so much to, sport in Nigeria.
It's a huge loss. No doubt. I recall years back when you talk about competitions that serves as not just tourism, but gives Nigerians opportunity to compete with the best in the world. That was the Lagos Open. It's a tennis tournament years back. Before President Bola Tinubu became president, he's a huge fan of tennis. And, years back we had all the best tennis players come to Lagos and play tennis in Lagos. But for a very long time, we've not had that opportunity again. Thanks to, great minds, like Mr. Wigu turned things around. The Access Bank Lagos Marathon, till date, remains.
Sadly, that was yesterday.
Yeah, we had another great one yesterday, and in the eyes of the international body that controls athletics, this is arguably the biggest, marathon event you can think of in Africa. You may have heard of the Boston Marathon and all others. What Access Bank has been able to bring to Nigeria is to have, not just the word replica, isn't it? It is what is obtainable in developed countries that Access Bank has been able to bring to Nigeria, thanks to, great minds, like this, who brought the best marathon runners from Kenya, Ethiopia, anywhere they are in the world. Everyone wants to compete, but unfortunately, we can't question God.
Absolutely.
And these are indeed sad times, for the country.
Mikio, any last one on this before?
Honestly, I don't know what next to say. It's a personal loss to me because I've seen her a few times in my younger sister's house, and he came across as a perfect gentleman. And for his contributions to the growth of my younger sister, there's no way that I won't feel a personal sense of loss. So I just pray that God will console those that he left behind and give them the fortitude to bear this mongoose loss.
Absolutely. From all of us here at TVC, we pray that God gives the Wigu family, the Ogubajo family, the fortitude to bear this huge loss. Right, let's move on quickly. The curtain is gradually drawing on the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations as all eyes are now on the final between Nigeria and host Cote d'Ivoire. The Super Eagles have vowed to win the trophy for Nigerians, while the team captain, Ahmed Musa, tasked his teammates to win the cup for departed fans. Defender Bribe Osai Samuel warned the Elephants to expect a difficult game between Nigeria and Abidjan. Mia, let me start with you.
This is huge. This is interesting. It is massive. Nigerians have always yearned for moments like this when it comes to football. I'm sure that BKO will also remember every time on Journalist Hangout, we keep talking about the fact that we have talents in this country, in any sport, in any field. At some point in time, we felt football was nosediving. And it's actually because the proper things weren't done. Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire today, before I take a look at the final, what to expect on the field of play, I would want to start with the massive followership, from Nigerians. How Nigerians have come together, as one to watch each game religiously. How also the government, one way or the other, are also trying to indeed ensure that they use football as a tool to unite people. The Lagos State government, the Rivers State government, trying to open viewing centers across their states to ensure that people turn out. And also, we've also seen health implications because a lot of people have been following. And for those who died, in the course of watching the Super Eagles, may their gentle souls rest in perfect peace. But this is one great moment. The last time we were in the final of the Nations Cup was in South Africa, in 2013. Ahmed Musa, Kenneth Tomerubu were there. I'm only worried about the fact that the avenue may be more hostile, for the fans who would come out to support the players. I know that there are a lot of Nigerians, who have traveled down to Cote d'Ivoire. There are a lot of Nigerians in Cote d'Ivoire and a lot of Nigerians who have traveled from neighboring countries. And this is a team with beats in the group stage. They've shown weakness. The Cote d'Ivoire team will always concede goals. They have a lousy defense, let me put it that way. But the good thing also going for the Elephants is the fact that they have players as experienced as the Super Eagles. They have players who are exposed, who have seen it all. And that's why you can't take it away from them. Despite all the challenges they've gone through in the course of the competition, they've sacked their manager. They continue the assistant manager of the team. Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, all other favorites, ahead of the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire, exited the tournament. And hey, this is Cote d'Ivoire today. We shouldn't treat them with kid gloves. It's a final. Winner takes it all. $7 million from CAF, as far as the winner of this tournament is concerned. Both countries are guaranteed $4 million, a 40% increase rise from the last edition. Impressive. But the players know what is at stake. They've come this far. And I hope that with some of the weaknesses they've seen in the Ivorian team, the Eagles rarely concede goals. They've conceded just 2 goals, one from open play, the other from penalty. And then a defense like that is what can win your tournament. And I'm sure the likes of Osimhen would want to go one step ahead right now to indeed give Nigeria the trophy.
Mikhail, the D-Day is here. What are your goal predictions? Who will score these goals?
I may not know who will score at this stage, but let the boy just enter the opponent. Whether it's a goalkeeper who scores, let the boy just enter. We Nigerians need pure joy tonight for obvious reasons. Things are not moving on in our country as they should. People are going through so much pains. Whatever will give them joy is what I pray to see, and I'm confident that the Super Eagles will get the job done today. They don't have to play pretty to win. The defense has been the bedrock of our team. Alex Ferguson once said that attack wins you games, but defense wins you tournaments. So these guys are primed for the battle. Cote d'Ivoire has improved, no doubt about it. We should forget about the fact that we beat them in the last time we met. And even in that match, they missed some chances. So they've improved and they will have the whole country behind them. But if our players can get an early goal, that will quieten the crowd, that will silence the crowd. And
I think they also have other African countries behind them.
It doesn't matter. If it's the host country, naturally, you can't compete against them for support. They will fill the arena and they will be chanting the names of their players and all that, trying to push them over the line. But if you can get an early goal, that will demoralize them, and they will come out smoking, looking for an equalizer, and that could create an opening for us to score. I think that it is the destiny of the Super Eagles to win this cup, and that's why you see, despite the frailties of that team, despite the team not playing well in every game, I think the only game that can say that we played really well was against Cameroon. All the matches that we were winning, we were just finding a way to win. If we could find a way to win the trophy,
so be it.
I'll be happy. I don't need them to play like the old Brazilians. Just bring the trophy home. That's what we deserve as a country. And that's my wish. And the last time we played in the final of the Nations Cup in Cote d'Ivoire in 1984, we were beaten 3-1 by Cameroon. After going ahead, after scoring first, I pray this does not happen. But we have better players. Honestly, players with greater experience than even the Ivorians. So I expect, yes, a difficult game, a tight game, but I expect our team to win.
Yeah, and what do you think the lineup for tonight should be? Or do you think we should maintain the lineup against South Africa?
Well, that's left to the coach, most importantly. But then if we have to look at what we've seen so far, the tactical formation that has worked for Jose Peseiro has been the 3-4-3. That's one great tactics that the coach has brought into the team in this tournament. The Eagles over the years would always prefer to play 4-4-2 formation. But from Jose Peseiro, why Jose Peseiro will also need, today's match more than any other person in the world is the fact that this will also be his first international trophy. And I'm sure that if he's looking for any other job, because there are already unconfirmed reports that clubs in Egypt and all other places are already eyeing him, the first thing first is to work on his tactics. There's a winning tactics for him. It's an open secret, no doubt. The 3-4-3 formation has suited, the Super Eagles at the ongoing AFCON tournament. Will they want to stick to that? Yes. I believe that in the last game, the struggle they beat until he also reverted back to the 3-4-3 formation. I'm not expecting much changes. The same goalkeeper, Nwabali, based in South Africa. Interestingly, most people would go to his father's house, to watch the games. That's the beauty of football. It's not about color. It's not about tribe, And also, you take a look at the defense line. Trust Ekong has been a massive leader.
Absolutely.
Talking to the players, pushing them on, also leading by example. One of the best spot kick takers in the team. It's not always easy to play penalties, when you have a field atmosphere, and then when you also know that the result of that penalty will change the tide of the game. Give it to the players. It's easier said than done. But just like BKO said, you don't need to play beautiful today. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if I see a form of boring game, because sometimes the players could be nervous because the trophy is there for them to take. Winner takes it all, but most importantly, get the job done.
So who deserves the golden boots?
The golden boots or the golden gloves also, if you want to. There have been speculation about who deserves, the golden gloves, and the highest goal scorer already is out of the tournament from Equatorial Guinea, plays in the lower division in Spain. 5 goals, plays as a right back, in his club, but at the national team level, plays up front for his country. The talking moment, from fans has been who should be the best goalkeeper of the tournament. But you can't rule away the fact that the number of goals you concede also comes into play. And Nwabali and Williams of South Africa will be going head-to-head for this. The perfect moment to indeed make a decision is after the tournament, because trying to predict this could be counterproductive. You don't know what the final would look like. You don't know the kind of saves and calls Nwabali will make. But one thing is this: Nwabali has made a difference. You see, the last time we had a goalkeeper who had the say on who wins a tournament or who wins a match was the days of Vincent Enyama. And over the years, Nigeria never lacked quality goalkeepers. In the last 8-10 years, it was surprising when Enyama left the national team, when we felt, we had goalkeeper crisis, and everybody was wondering, why? So if Peseiro had probably stayed back in Africa, stayed back in Nigeria, all these things, wouldn't be a problem. So the Nigerian Football Federation, the football administrators, shouldn't overlook the fact that because the Eagles are in the final, that they can go to bed to sleep. No. Nwabali was in the league some couple of months back, about 24 months ago, before he moved to South Africa. So the talents are here in this country. But by and large, let's wait till after the final whistle. Nwabali of Nigeria and then Williams of South Africa two leading candidates. But then, Umabali has been awesome for me. No
Fantastic. Before we move on, BK, who has impressed you the most, talking about the Super Eagles?
Let me see. I think that when you look, the two central defenders, Shemilori and Trustekong, they remind me of the central defensive pioneer of Manchester United, Vidic and Ferdinand.
Vidic,
while Vidic was very raw and hard tackling, it was Ferdinand who did the clean-up job. And he was more skillful. He won't get into rash challenges and all that. You need to watch, take your time to watch Shemilori Ajayi. He has not missed any game for the Eagles, and all the area balls. He wins all the area balls. He's very calm. He's very calm and very, very capable as a defender. So those two guys have impressed me the most, and we are where we are today thanks to that central defensive piano.
BK, please let me remind you, Shemilori Ajayi is an Arsenal product. Came from the Arsenal Academy.
I know.
Okay, and,
it just wasn't necessary for me to say.
BK, you have two Arsenal fans here on the show today.
You can cheat me.
All right.
It is good luck.
All right.
We have to win. We have to.
All right, thank you so much, Bayan, for your contribution. Right, all right. Let's take a break and we will be right back.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 are not like any other news broadcast.
It's the big news hour, the hour for the big breaking stories.
We've got some of the best reporters on the field,
Taking you through as it happened,
it's fast-paced, hard-hitting,
with investigations that matter.
bringing in news that affects your life.
With sports, entertainment, and business news, so you don't miss a thing.
Experience resourceful coverage with depth.
Every night.
Every weekday on Business Nigeria, we uncover the secrets of the financial world.
Breaking down intricate economic and financial matters.
We analyze the stock market, shares, bonds, and the thrilling world of cryptocurrencies.
We unveil and analyze complex policies of the CBN and other government parastatals as they affect your everyday life, keeping you a step ahead every time.
Okay, this is incredible. Facts matter. Our team dives deep to separate fact from popular opinion.
We simplify complex government policies as it impacts your everyday life, helping you navigate the ever-changing financial landscape.
Watch Business Nigeria every weekday at 2 p.m. only on TVC News. First, with breaking news.
Welcome back, everyone. This is still Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We now have Adewale Adeoye in the studio with us. Happy Sunday to you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Right. It is no longer news that Nigeria has about 20.2 million out-of-school children, and experts are worried. As such, the mayor of London Borough of Southwark in the United Kingdom, Councillor Michael Shitu, has partnered a UK-based non-governmental organization, IA Foundation, to raise awareness and funds to take vulnerable children off the streets and return them to school. At an awareness and fundraising event in commemoration of the 5th anniversary of the foundation in London, the mayor and other dignitaries described the menace as a time bomb that must be immediately checked. I share the story by TVC News' Nelson Etta with you.
According to the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, Nigeria has about 20.2 million out-of-school children. The menace has become a source of worry for experts and concerned groups.
My name is Councillor Mike.
A non-governmental organization based in the United Kingdom, IA Foundation, partnered with the Mayor of London, Borough of Southwark, Councillor Michael Shitu, to raise awareness and funds to help reduce the number of out-of-school children. The Borough of Southwark is considered the home of the highest number of Nigerians in the UK, hence the large turnout of the Nigerian community in London. Dignitaries, including the acting Nigerian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Ambassador Cyprian Hien, attended the event.
Insecurity.
In her opening remarks, the founder of IA Foundation, Iberonke Adeogbo, said the rising number of out-of-school children who have grown up without skills except crime to survive contributes to insecurity ravaging Nigeria. According to her, the correlation between illiteracy and insecurity is an unholy one.
Those children of those days that were roaming the streets, nobody paid attention to them. Those children have now grown up. They have no skills. They are not economically active. Therefore, the only thing they can do is to resort to crime. There is therefore a correlation between illiteracy and insecurity, and it's an unholy one. If you do not educate your citizens, the result of it is insecurity.
The chairman of the foundation stressed that IA is resolute to bringing down the number of out-of-school children in the country. He emphasized that every Nigerian must be intentional about the task.
The energy, the zeal, the passion which he has demonstrated in establishing this foundation has driven us to make sure that we do what is required to give the children in our country, Nigeria, which is a great nation, to give them the opportunity to succeed.
Underserved communities.
Stressing the importance of education, Ambassador Hien called on Nigerians to invest efforts in getting the children off the streets, saying the government cannot do it all.
The IA Foundation has been remarkable in addressing this vital issue through the provision of education to less privileged children in slums and underserved communities across Nigeria. Your efforts to tackle barriers to education is indeed applauded and acknowledged. Together, we can make a meaningful impact, and together, we can ensure that the dance of out-of-school children in Nigeria comes to an end.
The host of the event, Councillor Shitu, said education is the only tool that can empower individuals to discover their potential in life.
Education allows you as an individual to realize your full potential, to just be who you are, to know what you're capable of. Because if you don't know what you're capable of, how would you be able to explore? How would you be able to try it out? And our young kids, our children, should get that opportunity.
We know that an educative community is a community that can ensure that the country prosper. We also know that with a strong educative children, that we can ensure that we avoid a situation where our children are not achieving the best in itself. Nigeria can be a great country. We can only do that with a strong and educative community.
The founder, Iberonke Adeogbo, confirmed that IA Foundation has concluded plans to hold another fundraiser in Lagos on the 2nd of March to raise funds that will be used to put children in school.
Gentlemen, this is a great initiative in addressing the educational disparities out there. Bikio.
Yes, the out-of-school children syndrome is a big problem. It's a big problem, and unfortunately for us, in the last 10 years, the number of out-of-school children has been growing in geometric proportion. It's even made worse by insecurity. Look at what Boko Haram has done in the Northeast, for example. They do not want to see people get educated in the Western way. So they came up with the idea of Boko Haram. Boko Haram itself means education is forbidden. So they've destroyed many schools, they've killed many teachers, they've set ablaze school buildings, they've killed students that they found in school premises. So given this kind of situation, parents will think twice about even allowing their wards to go to school. And what they've done in Borno State is to build mega schools in the urban centers, especially the state capital, where children who cannot go to school in areas deemed unsafe can have quality education. But it's not enough. You go to the northwest, children are targeted for abduction by bandits. I can tell you that in states like Zamfara, states like Katsina, many schools have been shut, and there are no plans to even reopen them. Boarding facilities are no longer the norm. So we've got to do a lot to sensitize our people, let them realize that education is of tremendous value. We need to do our best to boost school enrollment. And you can actually also come up with laws that criminalize getting your children to hawk pure water and other things on the streets when their mates are in school. I think Kaduna State has criminalized that. So if they find such a child roaming the streets, the parents will be in trouble. We can also build more school infrastructure, because in places where they've been destroyed, we shouldn't just give up. We have to build new school infrastructure so that the students can find school pleasurable. Beyond that, I think that governments also need to subsidize education on a great scale. There are many people who drop out of school. They go to primary school, but it stops there because they've not got the money to finance the education of their children. Some are brilliant, but they can't go to tertiary institutions because their parents don't have money. So government needs to subsidize education and not be tempted to see education as a money spinner. No. That would discourage a lot of people, because there are many parents who can't pay exam fees of their children, they can't pay school fees. So education must be at least up to secondary level. Must be free. It must not be made for the highest bidder. So this will help us a great deal, and we can tackle the issue of insecurity. Hopefully, we'll reduce these numbers.
Thank you, BQ. Adeoye, it's actually very impressive to see that Nigeria is now at the center of international efforts to tackle this menace.
First of all, I think I need to commend the initiative of this individual. It shows clearly that development is not a business of the government, it's not the business of the government alone. That civil society organizations, individuals, we can make our country a better place. It's not just enough to criticize the government. We need to see what we can do for our country to make it a better place. And I think what we have seen now is this private individual that has distributed over 4,000 learning aids, more than 100 students, pupils have benefited, who probably had no hope, by this great initiative. So I think it's a challenge to all of us who want a better country, that there are a lot of things we can do as individuals. And I think this area is very critical to human development, education. It is the greatest investment any country can look up to in the world, because education fights ignorance, it leads to sustainable development, it promotes critical thinking and makes you to be a better person in society. And that's why you see that the areas where the people are least exposed to education is where you have preponderance of violence, of insecurity, of poverty. In fact, the state with the highest rate of out-of-school children is Kebbi, then followed by Zamfara, Bauchi. Borno is fighting hard to get out of that menace with just about 1.8 million pupils out of school. But that's still a huge number. So when you look at terrorism and all sort of things, they are very common in areas where people are least exposed to education. And the fact is that when a child is growing up, like John Locke said, the mind is tabula rasa, it's empty. The child will grow up to determine what is good and bad based on the environment, influences, based on material relations in the environment. So if there is no education, a child will grow up to see violence as a culture. He will grow up to see banditry as a culture, because there are all sorts of evil forces there that are ready to tap into the fertile mind of those that don't have access to education. And I think we need to begin to take this serious. If an individual can do this, what are the 30 state governments doing? The 774 local governments in the country. Because Nigeria, as we speak now, we have about 20 million out of school children. This is a ticking time bomb that puts our life at great risk. And Nigeria is one of the 3 countries in the world with the highest number of people or children out of school. Nigeria is one of them. We have India, Pakistan, and Nigeria. With over 20 million out of school children, that's more than the population of some countries. All right. So it's a challenge, and I think that he has shown a good example. State governments can also have a policy of, taking away out of school children. Local governments can also do the same thing. If 7 local governments do this, it will contribute a lot to reducing the number of people out of school.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's take our next conversation. Good deeds deserve commendation to serve as encouragement and examples to others. As such, the Inspector General of Police, Kaide Egbetokun, has commended the police tactical unit in Lagos State for rejecting 4 million naira bribe while investigating a case of drug peddling and unlawful possession of ammunition. According to the force spokesperson, Olumiwa Adejobi, the police team arrested one Esther Newman, also known as Candy, at her base where she sells drugs called Ice, and recovered a large quantity of the substance and AK-47 live ammunition from her. In the course of that investigation, her associates came to solicit for the release of the drug peddler, Esther, and offered the sum of 4 million naira as bribe. The police officer frowned at this offer, seized the cash, marked it as an exhibit, and arrested the duo for further investigation and prosecution. I'm happy we're talking about this because, in this time and age where things look so hard and we don't find this kind of police officer, these kinds of characters every day.
Yes, and anytime bad acts in the police misbehave, we are quick to condemn them and give them the disgrace that their conduct deserves. So it will be very bad of us to see policemen who deserve to be celebrated and not celebrate them. See, the police is one professional body that I know constantly weeds its ranks of undesirable elements. There are many undesirable elements among journalists, among lawyers, but you don't see this weeding happening regularly. It's in the police that this gets done again and again. When a policeman at a checkpoint misbehaves and there's evidence to prove that, the police hierarchy will move in and use the person as an example. This officer who turned down this bribe offer deserves to be celebrated. And I've said it before, I hope we can see that picture, because you see the things that they took from, that they brought to him, everything was on the ground. He chose not to take the bribe. This kind of officer deserves to be celebrated, deserves to be promoted, so that the world can see that it is not every police officer that is corrupt. I've said that before, and I've mentioned some police officers that you cannot look. Can you see what they brought?
That's it.
They went as far as bringing a refrigerator and a plasma TV and cash, because drug money is, how do I describe it? There's a lot of money in illicit drug trade, and once people get into it, they don't want to get out. But we have to commend the policeman, and this reinforces my belief that, look, there are many people in the police who are decent. I have a friend in the US who said that he doesn't think there's any decent person in the police. I said, that's as far as you know. We have encountered decent people in the police, and this is evidence of that. These are difficult times, as you said. You can imagine if he took that bribe, he will be able to solve a lot of problems with it. Some of the people disturbing him, asking for money and so one form of support or another, he will be able to provide what they ask for. But he chose to stand firm and honor his conscience. And for this, I think the IG should not just praise him, he should recommend him for promotion. And everybody, every policeman who does this should get the reward that naturally should come with being truthful, being honest.
Right. So, Adeoye, I mean, the other day I was having a conversation with former IGP Michael Kiro, and I asked if poor salary is the major reason for this endemic corruption in the police force. And he said, no, when you're corrupt, you're corrupt.
Absolutely. The officer we are talking about, Rewan Kasumbu, led the team, is SP, Superintendent of Police. The salary is not much, you know. And this is not the first time, at least in recent months, in Kaduna Police Command, they brought in 1 million naira to bribe one DPO, a kidnapper, one suspect, Bello Mohammed. He rejected the money, you know. I think he was having 2.3 million, and he gave them 1 million naira out of it. And then there is one police officer, a lady at Onitsha Market, that also rejected 250,000. You know, given to her by armored cable thieves. We are talking about 3 instances that have been reported in less than 5 months, which confirms the fact that there are good police officers. Most likely, majority of police officers are good men and women. But we have continued to stereotype them, to demonize them, even though we have not carried out research. And I believe there are so many people doing good there that people are not even reporting them. You know? So it shows clearly that the police is not as bad as we are being made to believe. And you see that when Nigerian policemen go out of the country, they always win awards, peace missions and all that. They come out first, morally, you know, physically, intellectually and all that. So potentially the Nigerian police is very good. But it's not something struck me that in this case of that happened in Lagos, that they wanted to bribe the policemen. They arrested this lady, and then the soulmates went to the police station. The audacity to even go to the police station to go there and say, look, we want to bribe the police, shows that they have been doing it for a long time, and they feel, look, we can always buy the police, nothing will happen. Because the normal thing is that if a policeman arrests a suspect, what should happen is that others, collaborators, should run away. They didn't run away. They came to the police station. That's a challenge to us, that, look, they are so courageous. It means that they feel they still have some godfathers within the system that can defend them. And of course, what we are saying is becoming a major issue because corruption is endemic in Nigeria. In other countries, if a policeman, you bribe a policeman and he gets it, it's normal. The policeman is doing his job. He's not supposed to take bribe. But it has become headline news here because of the rate of corruption associated with institutions in the country. So I think like Babajide has said, these things should not just go like that. If I were the IG, I would be thinking of double promotion for these individuals. These are the kind of people that should win national awards. At this moment, we need figures like this to inspire Nigerians, you know, to improve our image, to tell Nigerians that, look, there is a good in being good to others. But we just allow it to just go like that without any recommendation, without any promotion. I think it's not going to serve as a good example. So we want these individuals to be promoted, if possible, double promotion, and even if possible, they should be nominated for national awards. You know, it's a very good inspiration for us.
Right. Biko, your final word on this, and does this also strengthen the conversation around improved welfare? I mean, if, like you said, this man is not, at the end of the day, taking up a huge salary, but it's still this discipline.
Yes, there are people who came into the police because of the passion for it, not because they can't find any other job. They joined the police because that's what they've always loved to do. Such people will be driven by the love for the job more than the perks that come with doing the job. And I think this officer is one of such persons because, look, money these days, in these difficult times, is more tempting than a woman in a micro miniskirt. Because you look around, you have issues, you have problems to solve, and you look at your pocket, you can see that you don't have money. You know, it's as tempting as sin. But here we are talking about a person whose salary is so meager. Even people left the police who retired as AIG. One of them was complaining that he doesn't get more than 90,000 as pension. I was at a public event where he said it publicly that my pension is not more than 90,000. I'm like, come on. After serving the country for 30 years plus. So people have all kinds of motivations to steal. But we should improve the welfare of the police so that they are in a position of strength to resist all kinds of temptations that come with doing the job.
I mean, look at him bringing a refrigerator. The man might not even have one in his house. But then let's move on, Jet.
Or the one that he has is old.
But then, I mean, here we won't stop celebrating these kinds of police officers. And thank you for showing that not all police officers are bad. Let's move on quickly. It appears there is nowhere to run regarding rising prices of goods in Nigeria. The airline operators of Nigeria is lamenting the rise in the cost of aviation fuel, also known as Jet A1, to 1,300 naira per litre. The spokesman of the association, Obiora Okonkwo, stressed the need for government intervention to prevent the collapse of local airlines. He explained that the fluctuation in forex rates and the soaring cost of aviation fuel at 1,300 naira per litre have disrupted stability within the aviation sector. Ideally, it's sickening that when you want to fly, you look at your pocket if you can afford it. And the other option, which is by road, you're scared of the security implication.
Well, one is likely to be tempted by saying that, oh, the aviation industry is for big men, it's not our business. But it's not like that. You know, it's a chain industry. There are a lot of people that are whose works, ordinary people, tied to aviation. People that supply the food in the plane, workers, you know, in the airlines. So if the price of aviation, you know, continues to go up, the tendency is that more people will lose their jobs. And these are our brothers, our sisters. It's not just that people may not be able to fly. It's that a lot of people risk the prospect of losing their jobs. And that's why it's not a good thing at all. The aviation industry is one of the most strategic industries in the world, anywhere in the world, you know, and is a major industry in Nigeria. And I personally believe that, you see, we cannot just say, oh, we leave everything to market forces. There is need for government to occasionally intervene as part of the responsibility of government to ensure that, you know, certain industries do not fall. In 2008 or thereabout, I mean, the Bush administration bailed out, you know, the automobile industry in the U.S. with about $17 point something billion, because the government felt, look, we cannot afford, the automobile industry to collapse. So we need to, So aviation needs to be, government needs to intervene. The aircrafts are not so many that we cannot afford to even to subsidize, the aviation fuel for this particular industry, so that they can bring down the prices, and then we can save a situation where people will be compelled to lose their jobs. So I think because if you look at almost about 100% increase in 2021, it was around from 250 to 315, and everybody was crying. But you're not talking about from 700 naira to about 1,300. I think
the spokesman also said, as a result of this, it's now very impossible to bring in more aircraft, as the aircraft owners have become skeptical of the risk involved.
The biggest problem the sector is facing is the volatility in the foreign exchange market. Suddenly, the value of the naira, the exchange rate went to, official exchange rate from government went to about 1,400, which is what government notified importers that they will be paying to clear their goods with customs and all that. So it moved initially from 700 within 6 months to 1,400. Nobody could have expected that. And this aviation sector is a sector that depends heavily on foreign exchange. A lot of their pilots, their technicians, they are foreigners and they get paid in dollars. A lot of the airlines operate on wet lease, and some of the people who work with them are not even Nigerians, because those airplanes were not even originally theirs, kind of wet lease. So the crew will even come from those countries. In some cases, I've seen, at least with Arik, I've seen cabin crew members who are not even Nigerians. So, and the sea checks that they do outside our country will require that an airline spends so much foreign exchange to take the aircraft to maybe France and have maintenance, repairs, and all that before bringing them back. It's a mandatory thing. You must do sea check after a period. You must do sea check so that the aircraft can stay healthy and not jeopardize the safety of passengers. All of these require foreign exchange. They can't find foreign exchange. They are forced to go to the black markets. And the airlines are saying, okay, even now, there are people who bought tickets, some bought tickets 6 months ago, when the exchange rate was about 800 or 900 to the dollar. Today is 1.4. The airline is bearing fresh costs that were not there when people bought tickets. So it's the airline that will bear the cost. You can't tell if somebody who has bought a ticket that, look, you need to pay more. No one does that. But the airline has to spend more money. Aviation fuel has gone from 300 at one point to 600 to 900 to 1,000, now 1,300, all within a short time. The best that the CBN governor can do is to find a way to stop this free fall of the naira and stabilize the currency. The currency of a country is a source of pride. It's its identity. We can't, if we continue like this, a lot of companies that should provide jobs for Nigerians will wind up. The U.S. had to save the aviation, the aviation sector post 9/11 because people were refusing to fly. After the hijack of those aircraft, people were refusing to fly, and the airlines were in trouble. They had to give them intervention fund to keep them alive. The same way they did with the, he talked about the automobile industry in Detroit and the rest of them. They had to give them some funding to keep them alive. When things become rosy, they can pay back. So the airlines now need to be saved. As they've said, a good number of their airplanes are grounded because they can't even raise money to go and do those checks. And you will not be allowed to fly once you go to that time when a fresh C check is due. You have to do it. They won't allow you to compromise the safety of passengers by not going for check when you should go. But if you can't find the foreign exchange to proceed on that journey to go and do the C check, then it means that you have to ground the aircraft. That's what they are saying. If it continues like this, many airlines will go under. Many airlines have gone under in our country, even when things were rosy or rosier than this. So there is a need to address this problem, whatever they can do, because the truth is, many of us we like to travel, to do business, do stories, do documentaries and all that. And we are not prepared to risk our lives by traveling on road, by road. So we need these airlines.
All right. Adeoye, I mean, like Bikio said, from 300 to 600 and now over 1,000 naira. Do you think there should have been some government engagements with these airlines at different levels?
Yes, it's not just government engagements, meaningful and productive engagements. The government should prioritize certain industries that need forex. They should not even be going to the open market, and I think aviation is one of them.
Adeoye, kindly let me put you on hold while we take Timothy, our first caller for today, Timothy from calling from Abuja. Hello, Timothy. Good afternoon to you. Timothy, are you there? Good afternoon, Timothy. If you can hear me, kindly go on. All right,
good afternoon.
All right, good afternoon, Timothy. Please go on.
I think it is. Yes, I'm here.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. My suggestions are very simple. The federal government have tried. Okay. Government will not only intervene. We must now, as a nation, look deeply into our economy and begin to ask, what do we really need? Come to think of it, we are in an economy where handkerchiefs, where toothpicks, we are non-essentials. I here in Abuja, I entered the supermarket and saw foreign tissue papers, foreign bottled water being sold. So if you want this forest to be there, this is not our money. We must first of all go hard on some of the things we don't need in this country.
All right.
Then the airline operators will not be crybaby every day. The other time, government get the license to start importing Jet A on their own. How far have they gone? But I think with the promise that the refinery in Port Harcourt will go on stream and Dangote is coming on stream too very, very soon, there might be a reprieve. But
All
I
right.
think
Thank you so much, Timothy.
if we keep on...
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Adeoye, please go ahead.
Yes. So I think government should prioritize certain strategic industries that should be given access to forex, not in the parallel market, but, at the government rate. And I think aviation is one of them. It has about 1,700 cabin workers, over 500 pilots. So it's not an industry you can joke with, not to talk of other people that are, working. And we have about 23 domestic airlines. The aviation industry is one of the biggest industries in the world, one of the highest employers of labor. So the government should intervene, let them have access to foreign exchange. They don't need to be going to the black market to go and source foreign exchange. So I think government needs to intervene, and very quickly too.
Okay, anything to add before we move on? All right, so let's quickly move on to other stories. In the face of the economic hardship in Nigeria, a rumored hike in price of petrol is causing commotion. But the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, said there is no plan to increase the pump price of petrol. In a statement, the Chief Corporate Communications Officer of NNPCL, Olufemi Shoneye, cautioned motorists against panic buying. Because do we blame Nigerians for panic buying?
I don't know why in some parts of the country there is a bit of scarcity of the product. So this is what fuels suspicion and claims that government plans to hike the price of PMS. I've told people that NNPCL has said repeatedly that it will not increase the cost of fuel. Many people do not believe me. They said that they told us that before, but they went ahead to increase. I don't think anybody will try to increase fuel price at this time. I don't think so. I don't think so. Petrol is a security product. Because the removal of subsidy is the biggest cause of the inflationary trend that we are experiencing now. The removal of subsidy. The day subsidy was removed, virtually everything, the price of everything went up. Because even if you are talking about food, transport costs will be added before they tell you the price of food. They will have added transport costs. A lot of the food we eat in Lagos, they bring them from far away. Transport costs is the reason food is so expensive in our country. Because you can't expect them to not add transport costs. And the moment subsidy was removed, transport costs went up significantly. Nobody should think of adding, increasing fuel price now. I hear some people say, subsidy is still there. That is your problem. I don't want to know whether subsidy or not. Don't just increase fuel price. Don't just increase fuel price because no one can predict what will happen. If anybody tries that now, no one can predict what will happen. Already in some parts of Nigeria, people are buying even petrol at more than 700 naira per liter. So, to what end? If you were to increase it, to what end? What do you want to achieve? How much do you want people to buy the product? So, they've said they are not increasing it. I believe them because it makes absolutely no sense to increase fuel price now with what we are going through. No, nobody should try it.
Well, my heart aches that we're even debating it. Because why should anyone in his right senses think of increasing, the price of fuel at this time? Does it mean that people don't know what we are all going through? People are, in fact, almost at the point of death. The economy is suffocating everyone. To eat is a problem. And it's not just for the rich alone, for everyone. Not just for the poor alone. Everybody is feeling the impact.
Yes.
If you fill your tank to 30,000 naira in a week, and at the end of the week, the fuel is gone. So in 1 month, that gives you about 120,000, and your salary is 100,000 naira. Is your salary only for fuel? We are talking of food. We are talking of school fees, health. So I don't think anybody, in fact, they should not try it. They should not try it.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on quickly. When two elephants fight, they say the grass suffers the consequence. The Benue State chapter of the APC is suffering over a clash by two party bigwigs. The crisis rocking the party in the state has deepened as Governor Hyson Talia inaugurated a new interim state chairman for the APC in Makurdi. The governor, who expressed regret over suspension of Austin Agada by his ward executive committee, which was followed by a court injunction restraining him from parading himself as the state chairman of APC, said he faced pressure from stakeholders in Zone C who wanted a replacement for the vacant position in order to keep the party running. Mikhail, Benue State APC has been immersed in crisis since the governor assumed office. I mean, there were allegations they sacked the elected local government chairman in the state, and now issues over the suspension, or rather sacking the state chairman of the party. What's happening?
When I read that the governor said he's saddened by the removal of Austin Agada, I just shook my head. But earlier, he's a priest. But when a priest becomes a politician, he begins to behave exactly like the politicians. Father Alia knows what he's doing. This whole game, I've talked about what was going on in Benue when Wike had these issues with Fubara, and he was behaving like he's the first person to be betrayed. I mentioned the fact that in Benue, what was going on was similar. The SGF, I pity him. I really pity George Akume, because he helps people to take power and they always turn against him. So maybe it just happened to Wike and they won't let the world rest. It's been happening repeatedly to this fellow. I don't know anybody that George Akume helped to become governor who did not turn against him. No one. It's just a matter, okay, when will they turn against him? That they won't turn against him, when you go down memory lane, it's a given that they will turn against him. The effort that he made to make earlier governor, when you look back, you would not want to see what is happening. All that Father Alia and his people are doing is to take the structures of the party from Akume. You know, in the APC, I will admit that by APC convention, the governor is the leader of the party in the state. But problems always arise when you have a governor, you know, having to contend with somebody who had been governor too before. It happened in Kano, Shekarau and Ganduje. It happened in Kano, Ganduje and Kwankwaso. Both Shekarau and Kwankwaso had been governor at one point. So to subordinate themselves to a governor as the new leader of the party, because they believed that they are the leaders. Akume undoubtedly had been the leader of the party. Now, to now say that, okay, a person that he made, because Father Alia can't deny that Akume made him governor. He wasn't in their party. He wasn't a practicing politician. He was just a priest. And Akume did everything possible just to make sure that he won the election. And when I talk about everything possible, including the mode of the primaries, If they had allowed delegate election, earlier would have been defeated. Because there were other people like Barnabas Gemade and others who had been in the party for long. There is no way you will defeat them in a primary election using the delegate model. So that is that. He did everything possible. He became the candidate of the party. The matter went up to even PDP sued. Because PDP realized that there was crisis in the manner in mind. They sued, but they didn't win. Now, their first battle was in the assembly. The governor, the SGF, had a candidate, a different candidate, a woman as speaker, Becky Opia. The governor had a different person. That's Andona Dajo. They contested the election. The first one ended 17-17. They had to do another election. By the time they did the second election, Ali had moved around sufficiently, and his candidate defeated Akume's candidate by, I think, 18-16. That was the first. And I've said it here repeatedly, that Father Alia did what no governor had ever done. They are contesting an election in House of Assembly. You sat with them just to be sure that, okay, your own candidate is mine. It's not your business sitting with them during their election. You're not a lawmaker. Once you inaugurate a house, you step forward. You step aside for them to conduct their business. You sat with them. Just to be sure that, oh, in this contest, this man does not have his way. It ended. Ask people in Benue State, people who are informed, how many commissioners did Akume nominate into that government? There has been that Cold War. I've talked about that Cold War from the last time I visited Benue. I've talked about the Cold War between both men. So it's not Wike alone that is facing what looks like, oh, this person betrayed me. I put this person there, he does not want to see me again. It's the same tactics that they used against Oshiomhole that they brought. Get some people within your ward to say, you as the chairman, we are sending you packing. I've also heard that, oh, the chairman was also involved in some financial improprieties and all that. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But what I know is that Father Alia wants to be the towering figure within the APC in Benue. He wants to brush the man who enabled him to win election. He wants to brush him aside and install himself as the undisputed leader of the party in the state. And with someone at, like the SGF, very high position at the federal level. And all these years, he's always been a strong politician. You know it will be difficult. But that's what they've started. When the first people came out to say they had suspended him, the man said, no, you made this announcement, you are a former chairman at the world level. While they were doing a press conference, trying to dismiss those who those who announced that they have suspended the chairman, police moved in, chased everybody away. Who does not know who sent police to the APC headquarters in Benue? Of course, it's Father Alia and his people. Now they've got a court injunction to say, oh, Austin Agada, never parade yourself again, is achieving his aim gradually. What could eventually happen is for them to have the ESCO in the state dissolved totally, so that it's not the chairman alone that they will send packing. And then the governor will put his own people. That is the plan. the NWC of APC came to Benue to say, we are handling this issue, we are resolving it, we resolve it amicably. You and I know that. They don't know what they are talking about. There is nothing being resolved amicably. Within the state ESCO, there are those who support Akume, there are those who support Father Alia. I just hope that they are not laying the foundation for the defeat of the APC in the next round of election, because APC has a reputation for grabbing defeat with both hands when they could have easily won. You get my logic, my analogy. That's what they do. They snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. That is their nature, and it's things like this. When did the governor take over that? All of this have begun to happen.
Thank you, Bikio. Adeoye, I mean, this is some drama you would expect from career politicians, not a first-time governor.
Yeah.
Isn't this too early?
Yes, absolutely. The governor of the state in this season, unlike in those days, is the chairman of, is more or less like the leader of the party in the state. But that does not mean that a leader that will be a dictator, that would not listen to the various tendencies that are in that state. I think Father Alia rode on the crest of populism. A lot of people like him and all that. But that was not enough to have won that election. Gani Fahmi was a very popular person in Nigeria. Do you understand?
Are you sure it's not because, I mean, he's a priest and people thought he was
There's a need for structure, no matter how popular you are. And what happened was that in Benue, it was the structure of Akume that brought him to power, not just his popularity. Gani Falana contested the election in Ekiti State. Are they not popular? Popular, you need structure. You need structure. Ward level, local government level and all that. Now, having come to power, I think that managing the intricacy requires a lot of wisdom. You are not running a theocratic state whereby your dictation is law. This is a democratic institution. And for the fact that some people brought you in there, you have to tread carefully. And the former governor, for that matter, who also happens to be the SSG today. So for me, I think politics is compromise. There is no way you can take everything. Look at the former chairman that was suspended, Agada. Out of 27 in the ESCO, 8 people suspended him. The man that signed the former chairman, he left in December. And a supervisory councillor.
That's some illegality.
Supervisory councillor.
They don't burn.
Supervisory councillor, not even the chairman of the ward, of the ward. So
it was because they saw that would not fly. They didn't use the court.
Yeah. Now you have gone to high court, but there is a possibility that he can also go and appeal, and then the case continues. For me, I think the governor should realize that he is going to be the loser, because we are just coming to settle down. There is the prosperity. There is a prospect of distraction. If you have a lot of conflict in your party, you cannot deliver dividends of democracy. So after 4 years, you will not have been able to leave any milestone because of crisis here and there. And the possibility of having second term will be very difficult. It will be very difficult if you continue this way. So I was thinking that you should look for, because the people, the National Working Committee came and told them that they should set aside that suspension. They didn't listen. So you should tread very carefully. And if people have provided you with a ladder to get up, I don't think the right thing is to look back and throw away the ladder.
Bikio, talking about resolving internal crisis within political parties in Nigeria, how do they make sure this doesn't get messier than it is now?
I don't know, because when individuals are resolute in pursuing the cause, even with a gun to their necks, they won't stop. The Father Alias, his intention is clear, just as I said. And even going as far as using the police to disrupt people doing press conference, trying to explain their position on an issue. I mean, it's undemocratic. It's undemocratic. Well, that's the That's the thing. That's what they did. And the following day, they then used the High Court. They used the High Court to tell Austin Agada not to parade himself. And I don't know why the governor believes that he must install his own chairman. Because Austin Agada was loyal to him. He's been on our program, if you remember, and was full of praise for the governor and some of the things that the governor had begun to do. Now, someone told me that the SGF said, Shebi, the immediate past governor didn't fight him until after 3 years. This person didn't even wait for more than 3 weeks. He didn't even wait for more than 3 weeks before he started fighting him. So these things, that's why some of us will never have anything to do with politics. Because in politics, people behave like being morally mean is right. And I don't think it can be right to be morally mean. I don't think so. I will not wish that they settle their difference because I know they can't settle it. So I know it's clear. Adalia must have felt that if he produced the speaker, then they could use the house to fight him. So from the beginning, he made sure he didn't get it. Sometimes you help people, and as soon as they get there, they already have a plan against you. So that's what we are seeing. And the SGF is such a gentlemanly person, but it is what it is.
We need to move on quickly, but before then, loyalty and politics. Do they ever, I don't know.
Well, there are people that we have seen cases of loyalty.
Of course.
You know, we have also seen cases of disloyalty, you know, but it's unfortunate that there are some kind of disloyalty you cannot explain. You are nobody, somebody has brought you somewhere to, and then the first thing is to stab the person that has brought you. I can't just understand.
In 2 weeks.
You know.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Let's move on quickly. It's the season of anomy in Plateau State over the vexed issue of removal of some lawmakers by the court. The 16 lawmakers of the State House of Assembly on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, who were sacked by the Court of Appeal in November 2023, have approached the same court, seeking to set aside its earlier judgment that nullified their elections over unlawful nomination. The sacked legislators insisted that they are still members of the House following the Supreme Court judgment that affirmed the election of Governor Caleb Mothwang, whose case was also nullified at the Court of Appeal on the same ground. In their motion on notice, the lawmakers said, pursuant to Order 6, Rules 1 of the Court of Appeal 2021, they should be reinstated as members of the Assembly. Bikil, how far can they go?
Since we have a lawyer, I don't want to say so much, but if we are to go by history, they are wasting their time. You can't tell a court to reverse a decision that it has taken. Secondly, the matter is statute bad. Electoral litigation are usually time-bound. We've gone past that time now, so you can't go back. You can't go back to and expect that the matter will be retried and then decided in your favor. In any case, the appeal court is the final court in this matter. So whatever the Supreme Court says, appeal court is the final court in the matter of electoral litigation involving lawmakers, whether at state level or federal level. It never gets to the Supreme Court. In fact, governorship petitions were not getting to Supreme Court before. So this one is supposed to terminate at the level of appeal court. And I do not think that the appeal court will reverse itself. I've not seen a Nigerian court do that. In fact, a Supreme Court judge burst into tears when elderly lawyers like Baba Babawala and Olanekpekun appealed to them or filed an action before the Supreme Court seeking that the Supreme Court will reverse itself. So the woman said she never knew that day would come. She burst into tears because it is even unconstitutional for the Supreme Court to reverse itself. So how do you go before them and say, yeah, reverse yourself? And we've seen people who did it and failed. Yari did it, failed. Andy Uba did it and failed. So why do people still keep going back to the court to say reverse yourself over a judgment that you are taking? It's a very predictable outcome.
In a few minutes from now, we'll get some legal aspects or insights to this matter. But before that, Adeoye, like I asked BQ, how far can they go?
Well, what we can rely on precedents, just like he has said, you know. Apart from the cases he mentioned, we also had a case in the Ekiti state where Shegun also went to court even after the Court of Appeal had declared Fahimi the winner. And nothing came out of it. You see, politicians are die-hard optimists. And I think the lawyers should also be blamed because sometimes what they are doing violates the ethics of law. You know, when the Court of Appeal has taken a decision, it's not right for you to go back to that, you know, the same court as if it's a higher jurisdiction. Unfortunately, the Court of Appeal is where cases like this must end. So for going to court, I think it's just a wide goose chase. It will be so strange if the Court of Appeal will come out to reverse itself. And I will not be surprised if there are sanctions, you know, against the lawyer, because they should have been able to inform and educate the PDP lawmaker that, look, this is not done.
All right, gentlemen, let's get some legal insights into this matter. Joining us for more insights on this issue is a senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN Chino Obiago. SAN, thank you so much for joining us this beautiful afternoon. It's so good to have you on JH on Sunday.
Thank you very much for joining this hangout. I think I'm enjoying the discussion. Even this Sunday evening that we're expecting the Super Eagles to triumph over the this night.
So shall it be.
But so, yes. Well, I think, you know, I want to zero in from where my colleagues stopped. The truth is that any court can overrule itself if you can demonstrate that it acted as Justicia De Vito out of his powers. Supreme Court has overruled themselves several times. Just that some of the cases that have been brought to Supreme Court are political cases and they are time-bound. So once they are time-bound, why bring it? I mean, somebody brought a case to revisit Imo State governorship election that after 2 or 3 years. I mean, common sense tells you that it was time-bound because every electoral litigation ends at 180 days, 6 months, you know, from beginning to the end. So I think the request by the Plateau State members of the Assembly, in my own opinion, you know, they are taking the wrong route because if the Court of Appeal had made this decision, and in another matter involving the governor, the Supreme Court made another decision. You are not to sit in your house or in your office to now interpret that, oh, Supreme Court has given a judgment, therefore the Court of Appeal earlier judgment is a nullity. That is really a rascality and it doesn't hold water. What they could do, if the law permits them, is to go and start afresh and ask High Court to give the Court of Appeal to give effect to later decisions of the Supreme Court. But they cannot do that, unfortunately, because it's an electoral dispute. And the electoral dispute is time-bound. So, unfortunately, the case is closed, in my own opinion.
You said you suggested that they should go to the High Court. They should start afresh. Well, that's an electoral matter. What will happen?
No, not the High Court. I didn't say. No, sir. I didn't say the High Court. They could go. They could revisit if it's not an electoral matter. It's an ordinary matter that is not time bound. Okay. Talking about a court revisited in earlier judgment.
Okay.
They could, if it's an ordinary matter that is not time bound, as an electoral matter regulated by statute, they could go back to the Court of Appeal and ask the Court of Appeal to revisit its judgment based on the recent development in the law, or the law as it was at the time the decision was given. But I'm saying that this particular case is an exception because it's an electoral litigation and it is time bound.
Yes.
So they cannot do that. So speaking generally, courts generally has the power to revisit its own judgment if there is a reason to do so. But when it comes to elections, you can't do that in Nigeria today because the Electoral Act 2022 specifically set a time frame for electoral litigation to end. Someone raised the issue that even governorship elections go to the Supreme Court. Yes, in a pre-election matter. Remember, the Electoral Act distinguishes pre-election cases from electoral disputes. So when it has to do with the pre-election, which you must file at the lower court within 14 days, then it can get to the Supreme Court because it's purely pre-electoral matter. But if it's a post-electoral matter, no, it terminates at the Court of Appeal when it comes to state governorship or House of Assembly election.
Now let's talk about something that came out of that judgment, this plateau judgment and the Supreme Court. That is the distinction between a pre-election matter and a post-election matter. The matter of nomination or sponsorship of candidates, where the candidate is not validly nominated by his party. Isn't that both a pre-election and a post-election matter? Because I know in law, you lawyers will say you can't build something on nothing. If someone was not qualified ab initio, can't it then be seen as both a pre-election and post-election matter, and then it gets dismissed? Can't that happen?
Yes, that was happening before the amendment. Now the Supreme Court has said, even recently, in Atiku Abubakar and Obi versus Tinubu, that if you want to question qualification of a candidate, you do that as a pre-election case. You can't bring it as post-election. Since 2019 or so, the Supreme Court has made that distinction. I'm not here to discuss the decisions of the Supreme Court on electoral cases. We will always say that the Supreme Court should abstain from certain electoral disputes because it's not good for our judiciary, frankly speaking. But before now, if you are not qualified, qualification of a candidate was a ground to challenge an election at tribunal. But the law is shifting gradually that if you dispute qualification of a candidate, they should do that within 14 days of the primary as a pre-election matter. If you bring it as a post-election matter, well, it's neither here or there, it's buried. So it is safer to. So when you bring it as a pre-election matter, then the appeal can move on up to the Supreme Court. But if it's a post-election matter, which is deal with electoral conduct and all that, then he has to stop at the Court of Appeal for governorship, state house assembly, and even national assembly elections.
Can the Supreme Court, for example, having given that judgment, is there anything the Supreme Court can do to help these 16 lawmakers? Because they are hinging their agitation on the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, which set aside the disqualification of the state governor on a legal matter that is quite similar, if not the same, to the matter of those existing lawmakers. Is there anything, can they approach the Supreme Court, for example, to say, give maybe a consequential order or something that can? I'm just looking at what can be done.
The simple answer is no. It's an impossibility. Court deals with parties before it. So if the 16 or 19 House of Assembly members are not party to a dispute in the governorship election, God cannot give a consequential order for parties that are not before it. So he can only give all that respect to the case before it. I mean, the Supreme Court will not be going about looking for, oh, I gave a decision, so who had similar dispute? Can I apply my recent decision to your dispute? No, you can't do that. And that's why I said if it was a general litigation, then they could go back and ask the court to interpret. Exactly. Exactly. They cannot do that now because you have to come before the Supreme Court. You have to be a party there before you can seek any relief. And unfortunately, they are not. So as far as electoral disputes, electoral litigation is stand bound, like you earlier said. And I agree completely.
Now, your position is very popular among senior lawyers. But why is it that we still find some lawyers who know this fact, but they still want to go ahead, by standing in for the lawyers for the PDP lawmakers to take the case to court and defend them, when it's so clear in law, as you have stated very clearly? What must have encouraged, these lawyers, to encourage these lawmakers that, look, they can still go ahead? What are they looking at? Is it litigation fee? Is it
I earlier said this was my personal opinion, and where two lawyers are doing cases, there are two different opinions, and there are two different approaches. Now, I've not read the facts of the case. Maybe if I read the facts of the case, I may see a gap, I may see a leeway, I may see a prayer that raises such possibility. I've not seen it, so I cannot say, advise on what I've not seen. I express an opinion on facts that I'm not well acquainted with. But having said that, we are called as lawyers, especially those in private litigation, to interrogate the case of your client to a logical conclusion. That is our brief. And a lawyer will check on his responsibility, his or her responsibility, if he forecloses the case of a client. If there is a small gap, a window of opportunity to exploit it. And then, of course, when you exploit the court, you're also enriching the jurisprudence. So the other case you mentioned, where the Supreme Court imposed costs on a senior lawyer who brought a case before it, my opinion, some of us say it's completely unnecessary. Because how do you expound the law if lawyers didn't go out of their way to interrogate certain positions? Nothing is cast on stone. We are told in law school. You can always interrogate any legal position. So I'm not going to blame anybody who sees a gap in a case and says, can I for that? All the court can do, sorry, you don't have jurisdiction to do, we don't have jurisdiction. And the case is closed. So it's neither here nor there. Maybe if the case comes before me, I can do the same thing if I see any gap. And that's why we read our briefs and read the room very closely. Because we play on the weakness of the other side. So when you say weakness on the other side, go ahead and do it. But the facts as put out in the media, which I've read, in my opinion, I think they cannot go back to Court of Appeal to ask Court of Appeal to use the decision in the Supreme Court in another case to now reverse itself. No, it's not done. My own opinion.
All right. SAN, if you were to advise these politicians now, what would you advise them to do? And what are the lessons for politicians?
Oh, I think I will start with the last question. Frankly, lessons for politicians. For us in the justice sector, electoral dispute has stopped by the judicial system, I must say so. And we have advocated that Nigeria is just one out of very few jurisdictions where electoral disputes are litigated even after the swearing in of the incumbent. There is no reason why we should have 180 days to resolve electoral disputes. We said that we can use alternative methods to resolve electoral disputes, recount the ballots, go back and look at the qualification if it's being checked. The person doesn't have school start. Okay, bring your school start, let me see. I mean, we can set up a panel and within 7 days, every electoral disputes are resolved. Because when you throw this into the court, I tell you what it does. It messes up the court system. All the other cases are stayed. Nobody heard. In fact, now, court are recalling cases adjourned since 2022 because they have to wait to finish electoral matters. And at the Supreme Court, you saw the statistics, 1,650 cases came to Supreme Court electoral matter arising from 2023 elections. Supreme Court alone. So the influx of litigation, electoral litigation into our judicial system is overheating the system. Judges can no longer do anything apart from electoral matters. And like you said, frivolous claims go to the courts. So my advice to politicians is to look inwards, increase political party internal democracy, and create dispute resolution system within the political parties. A dispute resolution that is capable of being recognized by the court. So if there is dispute about primary election, the court will ask, what has PDP internal dispute resolution system said? Oh, what did your arbitrators say? The court may be guided by that. But when you throw everything into the court, then it does not do well for the country and for the justice system. And specifically for the lawmakers who are trying to reclaim their mandate, I think they should revisit the question again and to see that, it's an electoral dispute. The Electoral Act is clear about that. It is time-bound. I'm not sure they can do that successfully.
Right. We must thank you, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, SAN Chino Obiago, for joining us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Thank you so much for your legal perspective on the program today. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. There we have it. Now.
It's, I have my sympathy for them, but this whole thing happened because the PDP didn't put its house in order. PDP members, people belong to the Jerry Husseini faction, were the ones who went to court in the first place to say, look, the Congress of the party was not conducted in a valid manner. And the court gave an order, which the court insists they did not obey. The court insists that his order was not obeyed. That is with respect to organizing congresses. They claim that they indeed organized Congress, but the court claimed that it did not get any correspondence, any notification, and INEC did not supervise any Congress. So this was what the lower tribunal as well as the appeals tribunal used to invalidate the candidacy of those people after they had already won the election. Some of them won by landslide. So politicians need to learn. When Rotimi Amechi didn't obey court order in 2019 or 2018, all of the APC couldn't produce a single candidate in Rivers State for the 2019 elections. And the Supreme Court validated that. So you must obey the court. If the court says go and do Congress or go and do primaries, you must obey the court. Now they refuse to obey the court. And see what has happened. They claim that they organized this, but the court said it was not aware.
Very sad.
So I pity. I have friends among those who have been sacked, and these are very good politicians. Popular. Look at former governor of Plateau State, Lalong, was well beaten. But today Lalong is back in the Senate, not because he won an election, but because the original winner was disqualified. So
it's very sad.
I hope that
very,
politicians will learn, but it's always difficult for them to learn.
That's important. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's get to our final discussion for today, and it's about the economy. A scramble for the dollar by Nigerians to pay tuition fees, medical and import bills has continued to pile pressure on the naira. With limited access to forex, many turned to the black market for options. And due to this, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Olayemi Cardoso, has implored Nigerians to reduce their demand for foreign goods. Cardoso said the measures taken so far by the Apex Bank to stabilize foreign exchange rates have started yielding positive results. Let me start with you, Adeoye.
Well, I think I was impressed when I listened to what the CBN governor said, that if we can focus our appetite, our taste to local products, it's going to help the economy. There's no doubt, it shows that the economy is not just about what the CBN does or not, but also about what we do as individuals and also corporate institutions. If you look at the situation we're having in our country now, everybody wants to use something that is foreign. And if, for instance, we all buy what is made in Nigeria, I think it will go a long way in improving our economy. It means that we are going to be less import dependent. As long as we import all majority of what we need in this country, Nigeria is going to become a dumping ground, and then the dollar will continue to determine our socio-political future. However, I think mere statements, official statement is not enough. We also need practice. Our leaders need to show good example. One thing you cannot take away from the president we have had since 1999 is that you always see them in local attire. The current president is a very good so before the time of Obasanjo, and also members of the National Assembly. So if I was in that Olo chamber, I would have asked the CBN governor that the suit on you, is it locally made? And your shoes. Because we need to set examples. It's not a decision where governors import their upholstery from Italy, and then you are telling us that individuals should focus on local products. Imagine companies that have been in Nigeria for over 50 years. Take Bata, for instance. Bata came in 1932, and then set up a factory in Kano about 1935. What is happening to Bata? Because it's an essential product. If all Nigerian students, all Nigerian lawmakers, use products of Bata. I remember in those days in secondary school, in primary school, container. Everybody want to buy Bata, something that is made in Nigeria, Bata. The same thing with learners that came in 1953. Our immigration, our police, all those booths they are using, we can produce them locally. What is the relationship between our ministers of industry, the CBN governor, and these industries that are producing essential needs and services for Nigeria? I met somebody who works in one of the shoe factory. He told me that they wrote a letter to one of the ministers just for a meeting. Over 2 years, no reply. No reply, not even acknowledgement. That look, our shoes, the boots that the immigration, they are using and all that, we can produce them locally. No acknowledgement. So if we want Nigerian-made goods, our leaders must show by example. Look at the vehicles we are buying for National Assembly members. That's about about 57 billion naira. If it's 160 million per one. If we are buying locally produced, if they are not Toyota and all that, I mean, it's going to improve the economy. But you cannot be buying Toyota made from Japan, and then you are telling us made in Nigerian goods. So our leaders need to show good examples so that Nigerians also can follow them and then do what they are asking us to do.
Yes, and I'm also going to say, Bikio, this warning is strictly for them, the elite, because I don't know where poor Nigerians have the money to import foreign goods, isn't it?
It's right to an extent. But the hunger for the dollar is not fueled by our craze for foreign products alone. Today, politicians steal so much money, and because they know the naira is not a reliable currency anymore, they convert what they've stolen to the dollar. That is one big reason behind this hunger for the dollar, but people don't talk about it. People don't talk about it. But it's a big, big issue. People steal money in billions, but they want to secure what they've stolen by looking for a store of value that is superior to their country's own store of value, which is the dollar. So they go looking for bureau de change operators all over the place. Somebody told me that a governor, once they receive allocation, he will know. Yes, that is going to. There was even a governor, if not because Nigeria is such a terrible place where people commit crime and get away with it. There was a governor who sat on the ground and was, he had this Asian bureau de change operator beside him with a stack of currencies. Maybe it was one of his security people that stole the shots, snapped that picture. That's what they do. Now that they are receiving a lot more than they used to receive. They set aside a huge percentage. Oh yeah, go and change to dollars for me. They don't want to spend the naira anymore. They want to spend the dollars. When people visit them, they want to give them a gift, it is the dollar. Because they believe that, no, it's not even fashionable to give people your currency. All of those irresponsible socialites who spray money and step on the dollar, on the naira, do they do that to the dollar?
No.
They don't. And it's not as if there are dollars, $1 bills, all those small denominations of the dollar. Do they step on it? They don't. But you see them, new notes that you and I, if we go to the bank, we won't be able to lay our hands on. Once they have an O1B, you see them with stacks of new notes, bundles of new notes. They will start throwing it into the air like demented people, and then they will be stepping on it and dancing on it, and they'll think that they are doing something reasonable. Look at the indignity that you are subjecting your currency to. I just hope that we can rein in the slide of the dollar, because this government must do it. If we don't do it, things will continue to degenerate in our country. 1,400, 1,500 to the dollar is too high. When I hear that, we want to achieve stability at 1,500, stability should be way lower. I should be thinking of, okay, yes, it should be way lower. It doesn't speak well of us. For us, we're talking about stability at 1,400. Come on, what kind of stability is that? What kind of stability are we talking about?
Right. So, Adoye, let me come to you. There are some economists advocating for the amendment of the CBN Act 2007.
Yeah.
Part of the provision is to criminalize the use of foreign exchange for payment of goods and services in Nigeria.
Yes, I think I support that, because that's part of the reasons why, the dollar is very, it's so strong. Our money is becoming weak and weaker. Our normal is becoming the weakest in West African sub-region. To the extent that even Togolese, Beninese currencies are stronger than the naira. So I think I'm in support of that, but we need to go a step further. We need to open special windows for strategic industry to be able to access the dollar. And then our government, they should patronize made in Nigerian goods, especially where those goods, are affordable and they are of high quality. There is Standard Organization of Nigeria, established as far back as 1971. I want to know what they are doing. The Raw Materials Research and Development Council, established in 1987, they need to ensure, because the problem also is that there are some local products that are substandard. So if we want to compete in the international market, we need to ensure that these organizations also make sure that we produce goods that can, and we should stop relying on new economic policy of the IMF all the time. They cannot love us more than ourselves. You see where IMF has intervened in Bolivia, in Brazil, they are having a lot of challenges. Many of them have to dump recommendations of, the IMF. So we should be creative and be innovative and look for objective conditions that meet our needs in Nigeria.
All right, BQ, let me have your final take on this.
No, I have nothing else to say.
All right, so the point is, where do we go from here?
Well, the government needs to know that a lot of people are not happy with what is going on. And we are desperate to see fundamental intervention from the government to ensure that the economy is normalized. If the economy is not normalized, it's going to create a lot of social and political instability.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. It's a good way to end the show today as we get to what's carrying the African Cup tonight. Thank you so much, Babajide Kolade-Ostoju and Adewale Adeoye for your insights on the program tonight. Thank you so much. And that's all we have on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Get ready to drive into